how do you think your career would look different if you weren't independent?
If I was in a deal, I would have definitely found a way out of it. I just think that if I signed a label deal, I've accepted the fact that I gave it my all, and I just wholeheartedly believe that I'm nowhere close to being done.
Welcome to the Stay Independent podcast, a space to share tangible and actionable ways for artists to stay independent. And there are few artists in Nashville who can speak better on that than today's guest. He's a pop country artist whose career started with a degree in musical theater. After performing at theme parks and on cruise ships, our guest moved to Nashville in 2016, almost 10 years ago, where he's built an impressive independent career. His independent streaming success speaks for itself. Over 120 million career streams and nearly 400,000 current monthly listeners on Spotify. He's toured extensively, self-supported across the US and even in the UK, finding a way to bring his dynamic performance style international. And everything from his songwriting to stage presence to even directing, producing, starring in, and editing all his own music videos, he truly embodies the modern independent artist who wears multiple hats. But more importantly, in my humble opinion, also truly embodies a fierce commitment to his fans and mission as an artist. Please welcome Canaan Cox.
Yeah, Canaan. Yay! I know, I felt like I was about to run out for WWE or something. Like, give it up for. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I wanted to start off. You shared something with me over text before we hopped on here to record. But you just received and turned down your largest label offer to date. True or false?
True. If I'm being completely transparent, they don't know it yet, but I have said no.
Well, we should release this immediately.
You guys don't know, but guess what? I don't like it. Just go ahead.
Take me through that decision. Like, why is that making sense to you? To what are some of the decision points that have led you to deciding to turn this down?
I mean, this would be the fourth or fifth. I mean, I think it's the fifth one. There, one of them was like, "What the heck is this?" So whatever, 4 or 5. But this was like the best one that looked the most attractive. And so obviously it does come down to business. I run my artistry. I mean, at the end of the day, this is business. Like, I just happen to be selling a 0.00023 cent stream, and so that's the hard part. So it does come with a little bit of the financial side, and being an independent artist, I mean, I have such a good understanding and like knowledge of my books, of like how much input did I put in this year with how many songs and how many videos, and then how much was that worth, and just to provide the most amount of value here to anyone listening. I mean, I doubled my income from 2023 to 2024, but only having really I looked at it and it was just we released like 6 songs and a couple of videos, and again, self-funded stuff, but like just with that plus the catalog that I already had, that was kind of the deciding factor for me, was looking at my last year and being like, okay, Canaan, you doubled your income and you only released this amount of music and this amount of content. Now this label came in, and at first it sucked. At first I was like, this only. Then we talked a little bit more, and I was like, hey, like, explain yourselves a little bit here. And then I got them to make it a little bit more attractable. And then I just kept thinking a little bit more attractable, is that even a word? Attractive. And, but then I was just looking at the end of the day, they were looking for 12 songs and a minimum of 4 videos, but at the price tag of what I felt I was worth for a year. Like, I just did my taxes. I know net worth. This is how much Canaan Cox, am worth for 2024. And the amount of work that I put in for that. And so mine was like, okay, cool. If that's what I'm going to get, then that's technically, again, not every song does well, not every video does well, but it's like, okay, cool. Then I can do that amount of work for that amount of money. If you're going to give me that same amount of money, but they were looking for almost double what I had put out. And I was like, just time. Like, I'm a father, I'm a husband. I was like, doing 12 songs within that time frame of of what I think I'm worth in that amount of time. For me, that's a year price tag. For me, that is an annual income. So if I don't give you what you're asking for, a content side, within a year, I'm not doing myself a service as a business. Like, I just did this for a year and I got this amount of money. You're going to give me this to do double the work. And also that takes my time away from my family. Like, the reason I work so hard is to be able to sit here and make a nice coffee at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday, you know?
Right.
And so it became less attractive when I started to really look at it from zeros and ones on a, how much is this worth? How much you're asking for? So that's from a business standpoint, but then there's also just the creative control. They, you know, said that I would still have that. But you just never really know. We didn't get all the way into the super duper fine print. This was just kind of blanket, you know, statement numbers and stuff. But more importantly, like, all in all, it's about the belief in myself, to be honest. I've always said to do it do it yourself until you can't. And especially looking at just the taxes of 2023 versus 2024, it's like, man, Canaan, you doubled it. But if you sign a deal, no matter what happens, like, it would take an act of 18 Congresses to actually double that. If you took and you signed it, like, cool, you're pretty much saying you've done all you could. Where if you keep it on your own, you still can hustle, you can still do your thing. And yes, it might be a little more, you know, harder than, you know, financially or whatever, but at the same time, you could double it again by doing exactly what you were already doing. So that was a long answer, but that was the deciding factor for me, was just comparing numbers of what I've already done myself compared to what they were wanting to give and ask for.
So let me see if I'm understanding this correctly. They offered you a deal that would have been twice the number of music that you released last year for the same amount of money, essentially the same amount of money.
Same amount of money. They came in with a lower offer, and then I said, hey, if we're even going to talk, you need to match what I made on my tax return. Literally verbatim, that's what I said. I was like, I feel as though to the government, that's what I'm worth for a year. So y'all need to match that.
Is this taking into account, is this what you would have received, talking percentage wise, what is that kind of accounting for what they would have been taking out of the deal?
This was just in advance. So this was just in advance. This was like straight up, hey, here is your money that we're going to give you. So it was an annual salary right off the top, but it was for double the income. But then there was also, of course, contingencies on licensing for the music and ownership of the music. And I understand, like, again, business is business. And so I understood, like, that was one question I asked about the licensing. I was like, yes, at the numbers, you will recoup your amount at 4 years, but then you'll also want to make some. And as a business myself, you know, obviously you are investing in me. You want to make some on your investment. I understand that, but still, it just, for the price tag, it didn't make too much sense right now.
So this label deal that you just turned down today.
Yeah.
Why was there a lack of belief on your end and their ability to grow your career?
100. I mean, I think any label at all. And again, if anyone's watching this, like, I'm not anti-label. I'm not like, I'm sure there are good labels out there who are doing good things. However, I feel the majority of them have yet to really be able to navigate this new world. And I think to be, you know, to another label meeting, I had another label meeting about a year ago. And to answer your question, I'm kind of a sociopath when it comes to like, who am I dealing with? Who am I talking to? What artists have you worked with? What is, you know, we worked with one, and I was like, I walked straight up into the meeting and I was like, man, this is a bigger label. I was like, you already let go of 2 of your radio teams within the last like month of this conversation. So radio is becoming more relevant. And then I went and had a look. Obviously, their artists were on their website, and I straight up, like, first grade teacher with a spreadsheet was like, you've got these. You might not be able to see me on this pie, but I'm pointing. You've got this artist, and this artist who are massive, but then you got about 15 other artists. who, not in a vain way or toot my own horn, but I was able to compare myself to them on a streaming front, on a touring front, on a like network side of front. And I was like, got 14 other artists that I am outperforming on most facets. Is there any more that you can speak to? Because it seems as though you don't know how to break an artist or be valuable until we go viral first. And if you knew how to go viral, you would do it every single day. And then they all looked at each other. And I remember the main person just like literally like put her head down and laughed into the desk and looked back up at me and just said, we have this conversation every single day. And I was like, and like,
that's not very hard. That's not very confidence building.
Yeah. I was like, where did you land? What at this major corporation, what did you guys come up with?
Yeah. You got all these people lined up in this room. A lot of, admittedly, like a lot of really smart, intelligent, capable people working on this problem. What are you coming up with?
Doing to? And the only answer I got back was that you can only make an artist work so hard. And I was like, it sounds like a really big excuse.
Sounds like it's a lot of it's dependent on
the
artist,
100%.
Which then in that case, we're back to square one.
We're back to square one. And I mean, I think, it is. And to be, up front, like, yes, I hate that this is the way it is. I hate the fact that you have to post and like hope, it just is what it is, but you can either hate the game or play the game. And it just kind of, it is what I hate to even the fact that we had a label meeting and it's like, we don't know what to do if we don't go viral first it is a glass half full or a glass half empty type sentence, because yes, you might not be able to scale the way you used to scale from a label who used to be able to be like, okay, cool, you're signed. We're going to plug you here, here, and here, and you're famous by Thursday. But if you have any work ethic at all as an artist, you still can, own your own stuff and create very, living proof. You can create. I don't have another job. My wife doesn't have a job. We're living off of being an artist then to boost my own horn. Yeah, like we are in the 1%. And so I think there is a beautiful glass half full section of there of just being able to, if you are willing to work and play the game a little bit and you have good songs, then it'll connect.
Right. As an independent artist, turning down label deals, what is it that you're looking for from a label to do for you? What could convince you to sign with them? And what is it that you think that you have on your side that, gives you the confidence to turn that down?
I honestly don't know what they would have to offer. Obviously money talks, but even at the same time, I'm not naive. I'm not stupid. Like I understand label is, it's basically a loan. It is an investment that they're giving you and you pay it back plus interest. That is what a label is. If that's the case, you just go to the bank and actually own your music. A label for me is the only use that I see in a label is when something does happen on a viral front. They have the funds and the know-how to go to radio. And that's about it. And until that moment, until a song goes viral or there is a moment in time in which this, song does well, like I will always be super skeptical of how you label could advance my career from a business standpoint. I understand there's networking, there's people like, oh, we can get you on the road and we can get you a feature and we can get you a tour, those kind of things. But even then, that's still very, you are as only, you're only as good as yourself, as your artist. I deal with it with my agent. I have an agent who books some of my shows and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, I'm low on the totem pole. Like she books pop stars. And I know that I'm not, naive and being like, why are you booking me shows? I'm like, no, I get it. If you can send me an email back within a month, that would be great, because I know that you are busy. But like at the end of the day, like, I know plenty of people who know people. I had a call this morning with a very high producer, very in with all the labels, in with all the artists, and had manager meetings before with, big time managers. And it's just like, the first thing they're going to ask is like, what's the numbers? It's not so much about who you know anymore. Because the first thing they're going to ask is, hey, what's he got? Like, oh, cool. That sounds great. He's got good music and he sings songs and he can sell some tickets and stuff. But like, what's the numbers like? What's the, and then they're going to look, okay, cool. Well, call us when there's something for us to input him into. So sorry, that's a long answer for, for that, but I honestly don't know. I think for me to sign to a label, they would have to really lay out a very strategic plan, almost guarantee the fact that, hey, we have a network and we've already got it lined up. Like, you're going to go on the road with this person. You're going to do a feature here. We're going to push this, marketing dollars here, here, and here, blah, 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 blah. Everything other than streaming, pretty much all of the networking aside from like the virality of streams and such. So
on the other side of that, what do you feel like you have as an independent artist that gives you the confidence to turn a label deal down?
I mean,
what do you have going for you that's making your career work, you think?
Look at this beautiful face I have. I'm kidding. I used to be a bazillion pounds. So that's where a lot of my confidence comes from, is I used to be a bazillion pounds and a girl leaves you for another guy. And then you get shredded as hell and you decide never to be insecure ever again. And that's kind of that's a very real thing. But to make it more tangible for an audience that didn't lose 95 pounds. I mean, again, it's business. I think a lot of it, the majority of the thing that I hear from these meetings, is like, man, you get it. Like, I wish all of our artists were like this. Like, it's a business. It is a business. You really have to approach this, with the idea of selling a product and doing the work and doing the thing. And I think that's what I leverage, is just having like the know-how, a little bit of just knowing like what you're worth, like being able to look at a deal and go, even 3 years ago, looking at a deal that was like, hey, we're going to give you this much money, I probably would have just pissed in my pants. I'm like, oh my God, Dad, we did it. I got a record. But now I've been looking at it and it's like, that's insane. And my wife, I just played a networking event out in Napa Valley, and this was when the offer came through. I texted my wife. I was like, hey, remember that meeting I had last week or whatever? And I was like, the deal came through. And she was like, oh, like, what was it? And I was like, that kind of sucks. Like, I don't really want it. And she texted me back later. And she's like, isn't it kind of crazy how you just literally, as you were getting ready for a networking event and just like fixing your hair in the bathroom of the hotel, being like, yeah, I got offered a deal. Nah, I don't want it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a pretty cool, grateful, such a cool thing. It's just such a different world. And so I think that is what I have to offer above that, is just the knowing of, even talking to the deal that just came through, I was asking a bunch of questions and you could tell that they knew. They're like, oh, yeah, very, very, very good question. That's really very smart. Like, this is how that actually, and I was like, okay, cool. So this deal sucks.
Yeah. So do you feel like being an independent artist has given you the experience to ask the right questions?
100%. I mean, I feel like, in the words of Loki, experience is experience. You know what I mean? And I think, had this been my first offer, that there would have been way more excitement or way more, like, who knows? My first offer was way less than this. But it was more a mentality inside that I've always had. And again, I would just to circle back on it, was just do it yourself until you can't. And my first deal came through much less of an advance, worst deal on the back end. And it was my first one. So I got to ask a lot of questions on the first one because I saw it and I was like, I get it. And at the time I hadn't done, nothing was like popping off too much. Like it looked like I just got traction. I knew that's why the phone was ringing. It was in 2022 or 2023. I just hit like 1 million monthly listeners at the time and things were popping off. I just released some tunes and things were catching traction and stuff. And then it was like, oh, hey, like blah, blah, blah. We see you. Like, yeah, like we'd love to offer you a deal. And I was like, what does this mean? And like, what does that mean? And like, just being curious and like wanting to, again, business questions. I hadn't been there before, but then like learning about it is, it's kind of eye-opening to be like, well, let me just go through. And I went back and looked at, my monthly checks that were coming through on the royalty side. And I was like, well, if I actually just keep doing this, I'll make that myself by August. Like if that's this paychecks. And literally, so finally I asked them back, I literally said, like, do you guys see my royalty checks? Like, do you guys have access to the portal? Because it was a distribution deal. And then they have label services. And that's when they came through like, hey, we would like to offer you a label deal to come to our label services side. And I was just like, you not see the checks? Like you can do the math. This times this does not equal that. And so I think just asking questions. So anyone listening, definitely ask a lot of questions if a deal comes through, and learning a lot before you say yes, and really knowing what is coming through on the financial side, and like what's moving the needle. Because if they're calling, there's a reason. And it's either to take your money or be a part of something that they think you could be. And at that time, things were just taking off. And I literally said to the label rep, I just said, I was like, no. She kind of came back at me with it was a little aggressive. She was like, why? I don't understand like the pushback. And I was like, honestly, I just like, there's no pushback. I take the money and all this stuff out. I was like, I, as a person, don't feel like I've done all that I could myself. And if I sign this deal, I'm admitting to myself as a human being that I don't feel that I could do better. And I just don't believe that yet.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear you say this, because I don't know if you'll remember this, but we were talking about this before we started recording, but the last time we saw each other in person was at coffee, like 8th and Roast, across from Zany's.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember you saying to me, I don't know where else I can take this. I don't know what else I can add to what I'm already doing.
Oh my God, this is such I can't wait.
So this was about, say 4 or 5 years ago. What's changed from that point in time to now? Where I feel like I'm hearing the exact opposite. Like I'm hearing a confidence. I'm hearing like a weathered kind of deep understanding of your business. It sounds like to me like you're actually still exploring like ways that you can grow this yourself.
Yeah. I mean, the simple answer to that is TikTok. That is the easiest answer. To get it more into music business side. I mean, when you and I talked, I was having meetings with publishers. I was trying to get booking agents. And I mean, this town, they have a very funny way of saying, hey, go jump through this hoop, and this hoop. And then that's when you get here. And at that time, it was like a formula. And it really was. I remember talking to a booking agency, one of the big ones. And we were on, started doing our thing. I was like, oh my God, they finally like started to recognize me. All right, cool. Literally, it was like, all right, cool. The next step is we're going to do a lawyer. We're going to get you some rights and publishers. You're going to do the thing. You start to like network with some writers, get some good songs, and then you go and do the thing. I was like, all right, cool. But before that was right before COVID. I think you and I chatted a little bit before that. And at the time, I was just hitting all of this stuff. Like I felt like I was working hard then. And I was booking shows. I was doing my thing. I still had this exact same mentality of like, playing the game, whatever it was. Social media was still a very big factor, but it wasn't as big. I was posting on Instagram, doing the Facebook thing, whatever. Watching a lot of Gary V music videos or Gary V videos. And honestly, I love that guy at the time. I know he's not for everybody, but at the time I was this is a perfect thing too. Like I went to YouTube and was like, how to run a good Facebook ad. And even then I went from like 1,000 monthly listeners to 25,000 monthly listeners. And as an independent artist, again, at that time, and that was strictly off of taking parts of my music videos that I had no business to, like, I literally gave my guy my tax return. And I was like, can we do like a video for this? And he was like, sure. We filmed it on some like little mirrorless, Canaan thing. And I took pieces of the music video and then ran that as an ad on Facebook to get people to go to my Spotify, and just learned it. And the same thing about my music videos with my editing, directing. I know that's not what we're getting into, but moving on, I feel as though I just kept hitting walls, and it felt like there were so many people holding the keys to the gate. And I think at the time labels were, people did, managers, everyone knew exactly how to do what they were doing. Managers, you want to be a manager, then we'll get 15%. Then we know how to get you in front of labels, and then labels know exactly how to put you on the And it was like, cool. Then COVID happened, and TikTok happened, and it changed everything, not just for artists, but the industry as well, as we've said this whole conversation. So I think that definitely affected the confidence boost of the switch of like, man, I feel like I can't do anymore. Because at the time I did feel like I was just being not gatekept, but every meeting I had, it was like, oh man, you work hard. I wish, our artists would work this hard. I'm like, you could like hire me, like put me on. Like I will do the same thing for myself at the label. And I remember almost breaking down. I remember there was a publisher from Concord or something. Doesn't matter. And we had coffee at the Well down here in Brentwood. And she was saying, man, blah, blah, blah. Your story is so inspiring and so great. And like you're just like the hardest worker I've ever met. And I like had to hold myself back from crying at this exact moment. And she could tell something was up. And she was like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I was like, if I hear one more person tell me that I am working hard and then decides not to ever talk to me again, I'm going to burn the place to the ground. I'm going to lose it because I cannot keep being told that I am working hard and no one wants to help. But anyways, so sorry, go for it.
Yeah. This is something I wanted to ask. Not to immediately say the same thing that you were getting emotional about, but you have always struck me, and I think it's obvious to anyone that watches your career in with any attention paid. You strike me as someone incredibly hardworking, with vision. So I was wondering, what does a week in the life of an independent artist with over 120 million career streams look like? What does that work ethic? Yeah. What does that look like? Yeah. What does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, every week is completely different. I don't mean to like avoid the question, but it definitely is. I mean, for me to hone in on the socials, like I post every single day at 9 a.m. Whether it's a reel or a carousel. Sometimes it goes to TikTok. Sometimes, certain different things. I'll just I do a TikTok, and that TikTok goes to Facebook Reels and to YouTube Shorts, and my Instagram is something different. Then I'll wait a couple days, see which TikTok did the best, and then I'll move that one to my Instagram. However, Instagram is a little bit more like lifestyle brand style. So I'll use that for more thought out creative posts, where I have historically seen that if I am not sitting in my car, pointing to absolutely nothing in the sky, and just lip syncing in the car. TikTok doesn't want to see it if I'm not just lip syncing in the car. I don't know what it is, but I've accepted it every time I try to do any. So that's a battle in itself of just running your social media. I plan it. I try to do it. I look at it. And that's a whole job in itself is, hey, Monday through Friday, what does that look like? And then if we got anything coming up, sure, we'll push like something on the weekend. That's just the social media side. Booking shows. I still book all my shows. We just went on about an 8-9 day show run. And then we've got 2 more here in the US. And then we go over to Ireland in the UK. And all of those are self-booked. So I tour manage. So literally today I had an advance from Dublin. It's like, cool. Load in times. What gear are we using? Because if we have to rent backline. So do you guys have backline? I got a message. No, they don't. Go email session music, get in that. I work with Martin Guitars. And so they usually lend me one, but they don't do it in the Ireland. So I had to find the guitar, trying to figure out, the routing for that. It's like, do we rent a van or do we just get the train from Dublin to Belfast? And then also like what hotel is the closest to the thing because we got to catch a flight back to London. So that's a whole nother day of just tour management. I will say to preface or to slide in here, like this isn't for everyone. Like I fully believe, I know sometimes it's like when you hear someone work out and they're like, oh man, like, yeah, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I eat asparagus and tilapia every day. I have done that. And I don't do that anymore. That's, I get it. But I do believe that sometimes I'll tell people what I do and they're like, oh my God, like I barely can even post once a day. Not even thinking about the other stuff. So I do know that what I do is a little insane and I might have a heart attack at 38. But I'm kidding. I do not believe that at all. So I don't say this to be like toot my own horn, like, oh man, yeah, you got to do all of this. I do it because I'd be bored if I didn't. I'd post and then it's like, cool, I'll do this. So tour, booking. So then when it comes to the tour, putting it on my website, putting it on a Facebook event, putting it on an email blast to go out, say, hey, I've got new shows coming. That's the touring side. And then I worked on, we have a new song coming out later this year, but I actually have a guy who's featuring on it from the UK that I found on TikTok. He's so good. He plays a trumpet. And I was like, dude, I want you to play a trumpet solo on this song. And he nailed it. And I was like, dude, come to the show and play. But now I'm like, I'd love to do a music video for the song. But as we're there, we might as well. So then switching my hat, I put on my location scout hat. And I was like, all right, cool. So I literally bars in Birmingham, like pubs in Birmingham. And have you ever looked up pubs in Birmingham? There's like at least 87,000 every day.
Got a lot of choices.
Yeah. So I was like looking through and then I was like, that might not work. And so then I actually messaged my wife's from Norwich in England. And I messaged her mom because there was a couple that I found in Norwich that were closed on Sundays because that's the best time. If you can find a location that's closed on a day, then you want to film on that day. That way you don't have to worry about, closing and customers and guests and things like that. And I messaged her. I was like, hey, do you know anyone in your small town of Norwich who I could get a hold of to talk to this part? And she messaged me back. She's like, actually, here's a thing. I was like, perfect. So I could go on and on. Every day is different, but that was just between 8 and 12 o'clock today. I also had a Zoom with another producer at 10. So
it sounds like what you've mentioned so far is content, touring, and I'm assuming at some point music's got to be a part.
Music is there. I'm ahead on my music. That being said, tomorrow I will be in the studio working on new music. And as I was on the stair climber this morning at 4:30 a.m., I did message my producer being like, hey, here's a couple of references of things that I enjoyed that I think this song could, reference. And so there is music alongside of that. But for me, again, going by just full circle on this whole conversation, like music is what I sell. I'm just the business, you know what I mean? It is a business. So running the business side of it. And even on stage, I talk about that a lot. Like, I think my wife was like, are you going to rehearse? I was like, no, like this is the easy part. I will perform and I will get up there and I will do my thing. And I was like, this is the work. This is why the music is, that's why there's 500 people in the audience right now is this side of it. I was like, yes, it was a song and I wrote the song, but after it's done, it's just time to work the song. So
what percentage of your time do you think is spent towards music, touring, and social media? And then anything else that you can think of that might be a considerable amount of time?
I mean, social media is definitely over, 50, 60%. I mean, more, not so much like actual time being spent on social media, but just bandwidth mentally, like the stuff that I think, I'm thinking, all right, cool. We got to, we got 2 shows coming up next week. So I had literally an email today thinking about, hey, cool, on Friday, can we post? And I was like, make sure it's at this time, post there. I'll collab with you to promote the show. And so I was like, all right, then the Fridays, that's done. Like Friday's post is done. it's going to be that. And then, so I think bandwidth wise, it's like 50-60 on social, just because it is an everyday occurrence of what you're pushing. And like whether it's a promotion thing or a lifestyle thing, or if it's just like tour footage or whatever. Music, I think it comes in waves. This year we wanted to like waterfall release. We've already released 3 songs, and we did like an every 5-week thing. So January and then March, and then the one just dropped in April. And so there for a while during the winter months, we were in music mode. We were in like, all right, let's get a good 4 or 5 songs. So I think we're 6 songs in now. But that was all, we did that all at the beginning of the year when things were a little bit slower and we weren't touring and people were on vacation for holidays, and it was a little less, streaming dies down. People stop streaming during the holidays a little bit. People stop, touring. So everyone's at home. So that side, it's not necessarily a daily thing. I'm not sitting here thinking about like, I got to write, I got to do this. That's in the beginning. Writing is definitely a thing. I have a pub admin deal. So I don't have a pub deal. I don't want a pub deal. I don't want to write 17 times a week. Pub admin basically just makes
What's
sure.
What's a pub admin deal? Or what does that look like?
Pub admin technically is a part of a publishing deal. So when you get a publishing deal, pub admin deal, basically just they collect for you. They go talk to the ASCAPs, the BMIs, the CSACs. They just make sure every stone is turned and make sure every cent is coming your way.
Who's that with?
Mine is with Empire Publishing.
Okay.
Separately from Empire Distribution. It's a different, same company, but just a different leg.
Yeah.
And then
Empire's the one that they have Shabuzi too, right?
Yeah, Shabuzi's on, CC's on there, a couple of other artists. So yeah, I pub admin, and so it's just like a split deal. So they'll collect for you and make sure you're getting everything, and then they'll take a percentage. And it's usually like 85-15, 90-10 your way. So I have them helping me like book rights, because obviously they'll get a cut for like songs. And if you're a writer on the song, that is obviously you're getting an added revenue stream. You have your royalties as the master, then you have your publishing, and then you have your writing. And so like,
yeah,
you own. And so if you have a publishing deal, obviously a publishing deal, they're going to take a part of your pub. And then if you have, all of the things, but if you own it, as I do, just the 33, if it's a 3-way right, you get all that 33% rather than having to give your publisher some as well. So yeah, those are the 3 streams. And so I think about that, but again, in the off season, I think before I was on tour, April was the kickoff of like a lot of the shows. I was in like 2 writes a week, from like February until then. And then I was like, hey, I want to like slow down. I got to tour manage. I got to do this other. So now I'm focused on tour.
That's interesting. So there's kind of almost like a seasonality to your work efforts. Maybe it would be better to like
say that.
Maybe it would be better to take a look at it from more of like even like a yearly standpoint.
It is 100%.
How do you view your time on a yearly basis?
Yeah.
60% of it's going to social media.
All year round, 60%. And then like November, pretty much October until February, it is what's next, at least for me. And I have heard time and time again, every time I come to my like distribution or anybody, they're like, why can't every artist, like, we've got label deals that don't know what they're doing in March of next year. And yet, Canaan, here you are in August being like...
When you say what's next, that's obviously music, but are you also thinking like videos and...
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
For me, myself, I love videos. I love, again, the theater major. I will always do one if I can, financially, but also I just don't want to do a video. Like I want to like feel it to be a project. I don't want to just like, I want to do a video. Like, no, like, I really want to, like my last video, it was a dance video with my wife and that was awesome. And then I built a jetpack and we did scenes like dialogue and it was like a whole movie and it was awesome. So anyways, but that is always the goal. And so like during the fall months, I usually sit down and prep what the year looks like. And having to have those songs. So we wrote a bunch in the beginning. So I already have my song. So yeah, there we go. Here we go. Perfect thing. So beginning of the year starts. We're in slow mo. We're working on all the new music. for the year. Then we're writing a lot of new music. So I already know exactly from October of last year, I knew exactly what I was going to release this year. Dates, when, why, how, the whole shabackle. And now, we're in tour mode and we've been writing some more. So we wrote a bunch. And so now I have out of the rights, I've got about 5 or 6 songs that I would say I want to cut. So now those are just sitting here. And then I'm going to go on tour and release my music and promote my new music. But then as soon as tour and the year starts to slow down, I will get back in the studio to record those songs that I did write. And then it just repeats. And so I was like, all right, cool. Now we're off tour. We're off the road. We're off of like prime, like music time, holiday season. Let's get in the studio. Let's record some music. Let's get a good plan for next year.
That's really interesting. So it sounds like around 4, 5, give or take, months of the year, you're focusing on what's next, building what then becomes your releases and touring for what you tour on for the rest of the year.
100%.
And you tour primarily in the summer.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
For me, again, everyone's different. Obviously, bigger artists will do whatever they want because they're bigger artists. For me, we did a big tour last year when I got signed with an agent. We just did all major markets. Cities that I had no business playing in, but I wanted to see what we could sell. So we went and played. We were out on the road for about 6 weeks and played from New York City all the way to San Francisco, LA, Dallas, just every major market except for Florida. Sorry, Florida. And then we regrouped and we literally got done. And then I told my agent, I was like, hey, would love to go back next year, but I only want to play the cities that did really well. That way I can come back and sell out and like give them something more. And it's a little less time consuming. I got a family, I got 2 kids, those kind of things. And that's exactly what we did. But doing that to answer the question of the summer, like summer is usually for fairs and festivals and those kind of things. You go on tour, but you'll see that people are usually on tour kind of before the summer and then after the summer because people are home, and they're there, and so that's why like we just did April and May, and then the UK they're still in school in May. They don't get out of the school until summer until like mid-June, July, and then so I will stop. My last date is in Edinburgh in June, so they'll get out of school like the week after that. I have one random show in Columbus, but Columbus sold really well and it's still selling well now. It's in the summer, but then I won't tour again until August, until those people are back in school and they're looking to come back out on the weekends. People with families are like, oh, cool, like we can get a sitter, or whether or not they're, that way they're not like, oh man, I wish we could have went and seen Canaan, but we're at the lake for a week, or we're at the beach that week. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, no.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah. Stuff that I learned again, stuff that I learned from doing it last year.
Yeah. Yeah. You've touched on this a couple of times. You, as of recording this, have dropped your latest focus track and video for Through the Fire. It's a song or a music video that you produced, edited, locations scouted for, production design, costume design, choreographed, and directed. This seems to be like a thing for you that you not only enjoy doing, but have a talent at. How has that helped your business as an independent artist, and why is that important to you to do these kind of like more involved music video productions?
Yeah. First off, shout out to my crew. Half the reason, you look at the videos and you're going, holy hell, like these look like movies. And I just so happen to work with some of the greatest guys. If you've seen any Dan Shea, Kane Brown, any of it, that's the same crew that are on my, and I just happened to, we all just came up together in Nashville. I remember my DP Dylan earlier on, he messaged and was like, hey, he's like, I've got a camera that I have to return. Like I just got off this like Maren Morris shoot. I've got like $80,000 of gear in the trunk, but it doesn't have to be back until 5 tomorrow. Like let's film something. And I think 2 of my videos at the time, like Stay Home and 1%, I just like built a quick set in my garage and it was just him and me, and Matthew did an AC Juice Like the Pool. And I was like, yeah, let's film. And so, and obviously they've grown as well. And we have a little filming text group. So I give a lot of credit to them. So don't think, I don't want people to look at that and be like, oh, I'll never be able to achieve that. I was like, I do have quite an in. You know, I don't want someone to be like, oh, I'll never be able to achieve, because yes, I do. There is a little bit of right place, right time and luck with that, having the access to such a good crew and, you know, them owning their own stuff. So, but how that has helped me on the independent side is, one, I'm doing about the top 5 most paid for jobs on my shoot. And that's, yes, it is a financial benefit. As you know, videos are it's crazy. Dylan will be on a video shoot and he's like, I'm on the shoot and the budget's like $150,000. And I'm like, yeah. Oh my God. I'm like, do you know what we could do for $150,000?
You could probably shoot like an indie movie.
We could probably shoot an indie movie, or at least all the content for a year.
Right.
Like you could shoot all the anyways. And so
you're able to find margin in your business by what it feels like kind of a niche skill.
Do it yourself until you can't. Sorry, continue.
That's great. I mean, I think that answers kind of what I'm saying. I mean, what do you think? What do you think that speaks to about your music career? You being able to produce, edit, location scout. I mean, the choreography in it is insane with your wife. Like, you know, what is it? What do you think that says about you as an independent artist and as a businessman, entrepreneur?
I think Dylan, my director of photography, you know, getting to know me, he has always said, he goes, I have never met anyone on the planet Earth who has been more resourceful than Canaan Cox. And I think a lot, locations are always so expensive. When you go and like try to rent stuff, or you go and like on Peerspace or Ave, those are 2 websites that you can like go and look for. Where this one, the one we just threw the fire, it's a barn. The beginning of last year, I released a song called Don't Want to Fall Asleep. It's like this scary music video. We actually did like a whole 2-minute dialogue scene in the beginning, and it's this whole estate out in Whites Creek. Found it, I did pay for that one. I found it through a location scout buddy of mine, but I just made well with the guy who owns it. And I got his number and kept it, and like he stayed in touch. And I messaged, I was like, hey man, I got this idea. And we shot that. He was like, yeah, dude, just come back. He's like, you were so great. Like, just come back in here and do it again. This Town's Yours music video is in this big barn in a big field. That's like kind of garage area. It's all the way down in like Columbia, Tennessee. And my wife messaged me. She got she's getting her hair cut down there or something. And she was like, yo, and I told her a little bit about the music video that I wanted to shoot. And she was, you need to come down here. There's a lot of rural spots. So I went down with her the next day, and she was getting her hair fixed or something. And I just drove around, and I finally found, I like just literally Googled Maps, and I just looked for greenery on my Google Maps. I was like, okay, there's no houses over here. Let me go look at what this is. And I found this beautiful spot, had a lake on it. There was no power lines or anything like disrupting the views of it. I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. Straight up pulled up in the driveway. Old lady, had to be 80 years old, in her dressing gown, comes out and it's like, can I help you? And I was like, hey, like I always say that I'm a producer, which I am, but for myself. I was like, I'm a producer. We're doing a music video. We're looking for, a field, like blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, well, just come on here. You'll go talk to my husband about this one. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to walk into this stranger's home in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. And he sat down, came out, big old guy, just white t-shirt, overalls, and sat down in the chair. He's like, well, what you trying to do? I'm like, we're literally coming out here, just film a music video on like January or whatever. And not a big crew, won't be in your hair. And he's like, yeah, I guess I'll be all right. I was like,
for free.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. And I came back, I got their number and called them back. And so I think that was a longer story than I wanted it to be, but being resourceful, again, even like with the editing stuff, even, I didn't know how to do, I edit on Final Cut Pro. And a lot of times I know there's probably some people out there who's like, oh my God, you need to do DaVinci Resolve or Premiere. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
Unless it's going to the movie theater, no one's going to care if it's ProRes or like whatever. And I can work like a machine on Final Cut Pro.
Yeah.
I just edit. But I didn't know. I learned. I YouTubed. My buddy works at Apple. I remember like paying him for his time. I was like, hey, will you just like screen share with me and just show me the basics, and then I can like learn the rest. And just doing it yourself. And I feel like that's helped myself. And directing, one, I've done it because yes, from a financial standpoint, but also like I love it. I do it. But I think to sum it all up, the music videos, I think what it says about me and my career is just like, get it done. Like, figure it out. And if you want to do that, then there are ways to do it. And I think that's why Dylan and I mesh well so together as a DP and a director. He's always like, what do you want? And I'll say, he's like, all right, then like, let's figure it out, like a shot or something like that. And it's just, how do you think your career, Kirk? I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm very passionate about it. So I'm sorry, listeners, if you're just
I think that comes through.
Okay.
How do you think your career would look different if you weren't independent right now or over the last couple of years?
I mean, obviously, like you're talking about like a deal, like if I was signed.
Yeah. If you,
or do you mean if I was like,
what do you think the expression of the vision that you have? How would that look different? Do you think it would be the same if you were signed?
No, mostly because, I think when you sign, you lose a lot of initiative. You know, if you're getting paid $12 an hour for a job, like no matter what you do, that's why I hate hourly wage. Like no matter what work you do, you're still going to get paid the same check. And I think I had a meeting with the record label, and this wasn't a deal. It was just like my first meeting with them. Cool guy. And then I was like, great. We just chatted. It was a good conversation. Nothing ever happened. But we stayed in touch, and he just loved the music. And then I kind of progressed and got to where I am now. Now we just chat. We don't even talk. I don't even care about the label stuff. And we got together. And he said, man, dude, you're killing it. Like you're beating some of our artists. It's so good. And we listened to some tunes. And I was like, let me ask you this. This artist they had, it's like 2 number ones at radio. And I was like, but it has not done a lot since. Like it's just been just pushing money, wasted investment. And I was like, how much money this person goes there and does a TikTok and does it, and it does well. Like, how much are they receiving? Even the song's already done and over. And he's like, you're talking like 5% maybe. And I'm like, yeah, well, no wonder artists don't want to do anything. Like you've taken away the reason to work, to do it. No matter how much work you do, you've gotten the check, and you're never really going to, I mean, yeah, you might get out of the deal and recoup, but I mean, $1 bazillion, or depending on the deal, it's like, especially if we went to radio, you're talking millions. So I think I would have either, if I was in a deal, I would have definitely found a way out of it. I would have found a way out of the deal had I been in a deal. Just because, I mean, I think, again, I say this, cautiously, but like, because obviously COVID was a horrible time for some people, but for me, I loved it. It was an amazing thing for me, because I was right on the cusp. Like WME came on board. I was opening for Matt. I was opening for Matt Stell a couple of times. I had like some Country Thunders. I had some like festivals booked. I was like, we getting into some writing rooms with some big writers, and all of a sudden, like WME let go of half of their staff. And I wasn't hearing from anyone, and it just went back to, and I was like, went back to serving at Del Frisco's down in Brentwood. And I was like, this is crazy. But then it also just like made me step back and, just realize like it gave me a little bit, of the race, of course, of just the race of all that. But I was on the, like, I had it been, maybe 6-7 more months, I probably would have signed something that I would still be in today. That sucks.
Yeah. And why would that suck, do you think?
Because you were signed at a time when they thought, you'd signed, an 8-year contract for what they thought was the way. And then literally within a year, the whole entire dynamic changed. And then
what about signing? Do you think scares you with the deep knowledge that you have of your business as an independent artist? What about that is scary?
I mean, obviously the first thing that comes to mind is just like creative control. And I know there's ways I'm sure there are labels out there who fully believe in their artists, and it's like, we wouldn't sign anyone. And it's not even necessarily that, but for me, it's a little bit of the fear of the unknown. On the opposite side, it's like, again, kind of full circle on the conversation at the beginning, like I doubled my income last year. Yes. Does some security sound good in the sense of, yes, you're paying me this and we're going to do these songs. And if I run out of this money, like I can re-up and give them another 12 songs. But it's just like, but then that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Like I'm, and to just for all the listeners, like I'm 35, like this year I'll be on the wrong side of 30 in the entertainment industry. But I just feel like I'm still super young. Like there's still so much I can do, especially, and I think that's the positive of the social media thing, where you see people who can, like, I think people's perception of success need to change, and it hasn't yet. I mean, I love my dad so much. I call my dad every day. We talked about the deal, and I'm sure he will listen to this and watch it and all of the things. But I'm like, he was like, this deal is like, well, they're going to go to radio. And I'm like, that's such an old, I was like, Dad, it's not called a radio deal. It's a record deal. It's about older music. And he just like, it was so hard. And I feel like so many people, even like when you go home, I'm from a small town in North Carolina, and people, you come around like, oh man, like you're going to get there one day. And I'm like, let me show you my tax return. Like, like little 10-year-old me has made it. Like this is, I've had a lot of meetings. I'm like, oh, it's like, what does success look like for you? And like, what do you see? And I was like, at the end of the day, I am fully funded by my music and what I put through. And like, yes, sometimes I have to invest it back into myself and those kind of things. And, we're not driving yachts or, Benzes, but it's like, I just think that if I signed a label deal, I've accepted the fact that on paper and mentally that it's like, I gave it my all. Like this was worth it. And I just wholeheartedly believe that I'm nowhere close to being done.
Yeah. Right.
Cue the music.
Yeah. I got two quick things.
Yeah. Sorry. I'll make it quick as well.
Yeah, no worries. According to Billboard, independent artists using DIY distribution platforms generated $2 billion in revenue in 2024, with a growth rate of 4.7% that outpaced the previous years of 4.5%. Why do you think independent artistry keeps growing?
What, again, full just social media, man. I think like TikTok, Instagram, all of those things. Again, let's throw Gary Vee in there again. I mean, I watch his stuff constantly, and he talks about it, especially right now in the current scenario of the algorithm or whatever the hell you want to call it. Like, followers don't matter anymore. You could create one piece of content today with 5 followers and it have a moment and change your life forever. It's about the content. It is about the thing, about what you're speaking to, who you're talking to, and who it is for. It's not about, where it was 5 years ago. It's like you have a bazillion listeners or followers and you do this and then they see it. It's like, no, it's like, that's not the case.
What does that say to you about, I guess, social media, where it's at now? Do you feel like what really matters maybe is an idea, a vision that really resonates with the fan base?
I mean, I think it's a story, and which I think was why I love it. And again, to go off another one of the hats that you wear. I mean, I don't think it's called, like, it's not social media really anymore. I mean, it's honestly, and again, it's kind of glass half full, glass half empty kind of thing. I mean, it's almost psychology. Like, I really think about the first 3 seconds of my videos of like how this will connect to someone, and not in a weird, cynical, like manipulating, like watch. I hate clickbait stuff. Like I'll never. I don't like, when you see the videos and it's like, oh, they're about to do something stupid. And I get it. Like I understand the videos but as an artist, like that doesn't read well with me. Like that's not authentic to me. And that's why I almost stayed away from TikTok for so long too. Cause I felt like lip syncing and those kind of things. I was like, I got to find a way to make it myself. And a lot of my songwriting is very storytelling. And so, I mean, one of the songs, just for example, like When It Comes to You, one of my biggest streaming songs is about me and my wife reconnecting. And I wrote a song literally after we got off the phone call. And so, I mean, the hook, I will always continue to, and I wrote the song 2019. It came out in 2019, and I'm still pushing it. Again, take that independent artist, just because it's old, does not mean that you push it because it steals.
Nothing on the internet is old.
No, 90% of the time, it will do 88% better than all of my other posts. And so I'll continue to do it, and I will show you the stats of how it has grown. But I think about it, I get to tell that story. And literally the hook is, my ex called me after 3 years. I'm so glad I answered.
Yeah.
I think about it. And but it took me a bit to find that hook. And then there's another song that I was on my EP in 2022. Pushed it. I had a bunch of songs to be able to push from the EP. Couldn't get it to connect. Didn't know. It was streaming like 200 streams a day for over like 2 years. Finally, again, I was like, you know what? Like I haven't pushed this song in a while. Let me do it. Thought about the hook. And literally all I said was, it's a super duper love song. It's called Anymore. Talking about like, I don't have to search anymore. I found you. And I just put like what it feels like to finally find the one. Now that song is averaging like 6,000 to 8,000 streams a day and this is over the last couple of months. And I'm like, who would have thought?
Yeah.
And I guess I don't exactly know what question we are answering in the interview here, but I guess the piece of intel that I will say to that is, like, you never have an idea, like the social media thing, going back to the Gary Vee and the posting thing, like you never know, like you have no idea. And I think you really have to mentally, and it's really hard. You really have to like be able to, on one side, care so much, and on this side, not give shit about anything. You have to just not care at all. You have to, it matters so much. And because as an artist and a creator, you want to, but on this side, like you got to post and just hope for the best. And like, do the things that you know will do well, like, stop doing this and blah, 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 3-second hook and blah, like do the things. But like, you just never know. Again, When It Comes to You, that song, I posted it yesterday and it's only gotten like 1,000 views or whatever.
Right.
But then I know without a doubt, I would bet my family and wife's their whole lives on it that I will post it again in 2 days and it will have 500,000 views.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
And so, I mean,
that's ultimately what is, I mean, it's kind of been a theme of our discussion, is
persistence.
Yeah. Yeah. And TikTok giving you that opportunity daily to connect with a new fan or a new listener. You mentioned that song or one of the songs that you just mentioned has 6,000 to 8,000 streams a day. That's just one of your songs.
That's just
according to GetNux music industry statistics. Country music artists earn approximately $5 to $10 per 1,000 streams on Spotify. What percentage, breaking down the business or the percentage of revenue in your business, how are you able to make this work as an independent artist? What percentage is streaming, and where are you finding revenue to support your family, your 2 kids, your wife, in other ways?
In other ways?
Yeah. What break down the percentage for me if you can.
Revenue is from streams, and mastering is 85% of my income. That's the majority. And
that's not what I would have expected you to say.
Yeah, it is. It is. And
what's that final 15?
Touring, merch, publishing and writing. You get quarterly checks. From those, again, not, one quarterly check might cover rent for that month,
Yeah.
Nothing crazy there, but I'm careful with the way I talk about it, because I do believe that, there are some dogs out there, there are people out there who there is some unfairness to the percentages in the streams. And so I know there's a big thing going on for writers and those kind of things. And I fully support, those kind of things. But sometimes I get angry when I see, posts and stuff about like, blah, 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 the music industry is out to get me. And I'm like, are you just not working hard? Or are you not? Because I'm so grateful. Like, I'm working my ass off here and I'm paying for my family and food on the table from doing what I've always wanted to do. And that is in music. And I'm sure there could be better things. But I see the stuff and I'm just like, man, I'm sure it's hard or something, everyone has a moment, but it's like, get out there and hustle and work, because I'm living proof that you can live off of being an independent artist. And I, again, don't mean that out of vanity. But yeah, I work my ass off and pushing this. You just like, what I said earlier, like just being persistent. Like I know for a fact tomorrow that I will go on social media at 9:00 and I will post a song that's been out since 2017, but it is my number 2 most streamed song. It is on TuneCore. There's no distribution. My top 3 most streamed songs over the last 3 years are songs that I wrote by myself with a producer who I paid $600 to do at a townhouse up in Goodlettsville years ago. They weren't on TikTok. TikTok came around. I had a good moment with my song As You Leave. It connected well with people. And so that song did, it had like 20 something million streams. And even the acoustic version is pretty close to that. But the other ones, I literally was like, oh, my old songs aren't even on TikTok, like the sound. I was like, I'm going to make an original sound and just see what happens. And it completely changed my life. Yeah. And it's like, so yeah, I feel like just, you never know. I can talk about, there's the mentality side of it of like, just go and work hard. But also at the same time, like there is no rhyme or reason to it all. I could post about a new song tomorrow and change the first 3 seconds and it connect with a different audience than it has over the last 3 years. And the next thing I know, now I have another song that is streaming at 10,000 a day. And I think that's the persistent side of it all. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today, man. You, it's oh, I got a hoodie on too, but it's inspiring to see your grind and, from one entrepreneur to another. There's a lot that I can respect in that. Thanks for reaching out, man. Yeah. I'm excited to continue to watch your success and to see this project grow, and just thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.